think we can go ahead and get started, and I'll continue admitting folks into this meeting. Welcome all. We are excited that you're here to join us for the 4th of 6 listening sessions on the region's food system that will help inform the 2021 Food System Action Plan. This meeting will be recorded and we'll follow up with an email that includes resources, a link to the recording, and materials that you've seen here and ways that you can stay engaged. I'd like to thank the Sacramento Region Community Foundation for their support that has enabled us to host these sessions and update the 2015 Food System Action Plan. Before we get into introductions, Linda, do you want to say anything to the group?
No, other than it's going to be we're really looking forward to this one of 6, but this one is, I think, of particular interest from a philanthropy perspective. And I just want to thank you all for being here and certainly acknowledge the great work that Valley Vision does. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Linda. So now we are going to head into our introduction. So we'd like you to briefly share your name, organization, and what project or your activity that you're working on that relates to food security and healthy food access. So I'm going to start at the top of the participant list and then try and get in folks who pop in between then. So first I'd like to go to Adrian Wren.
Thanks, Grace. Hi, folks. Adrian Wren here today with the Oak Park Neighborhood Association. One thing that we've been working on recently is actually the new grocery store coming in at the corner of 4th and Stockton. As many of you know, it used to be the location of Food Source, longtime grocery store, over 20 years. And when that went away just before COVID, we lost our only grocery store in the neighborhood. So we've been working with the leadership of the new Rancho San Miguel market to ensure that, they're doing things like having, appropriate, amounts of square footage for CalFresh accessible foods, hot and cold foods, and culturally accessible foods. So in any case, working with those folks, that's probably the biggest food access related thing in the neighborhood right now for the OPNA. Sorry, that was a little long-winded.
That's perfectly fine. Thank you. Amber?
Hello. So I'm Amber Stott. I'm the founder and CEO of Food Literacy Center. And the activity that we work on is we ensure that the kids who use other programs like the food bank or school lunch actually want to eat the vegetables and the healthy food. So we are providing that education to make sure that they fall in love with and eat those healthy fruits and veggies.
Thank you. Amy?
Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Garfinkel with the California Department of Food and Agriculture, Office of Farm to Fork. And we are working to support farm to school in the state to help increase access to California grown food for schools.
Thank you. Anna? Anna Toll? Maybe we can circle back. Asia?
Hello, everyone. My name is Asia Lee. I use she, they pronouns. I am a field rep from Councilmember Vang's District 8 office. And so one of our priorities within the office is to really ensure that we're helping out with food justice and really wanting to have conversations with local organizations who are on the ground doing the work and how we can help bring that up to at least our district, if not the city level, right? And really focusing on that because many of our districts, many of the neighborhoods within our district, like Meadowview, are considered food desert. And so we really want to be able to think of ideas and collaborate with y'all on how we can make our neighborhoods no longer a food desert. So it's really nice seeing y'all.
Becca?
Hi, everybody. Becca Whitman with Rayleigh's and Rayleigh's Food for Families. We have many community partners, some on this call that we work with to help alleviate hunger and also provide nutritious and healthy food to our communities.
And Brian?
Hi, everyone. Brian Heller de Leon with Kaiser Permanente Greater Sacramento. We are doing a lot of grant making around CalFresh enrollment throughout Northern California, including in Greater Sacramento, capacity building and training, cross-learning across agencies. We've also done a lot of grant making to local food banks. And then we did our texting campaign to our Medi-Cal members up and down the state around CalFresh enrollment with a new landing page. And I think we had 30,000 additional members sign up for CalFresh during that campaign. So lots of work, and obviously acute food insecurity shows up in our EDs and affects overall health of our members in our community.
Thank you. Blake?
Hey there, Blake Young, Sacramento Food Bank and Family Services. What we're working on right now is really assessing the emergency food system and all of our partners as we pivot out of the pandemic or pivot back in. Really trying to get a handle on the current kind of climate for our partner agencies, but also opening the door to looking at some more institutional partners and ways that we can get more food out there in the Sacramento County.
Kathy?
Hi, everyone. Kathy Vu with the Sacramento Region Community Foundation. I was brought on to help the foundation with its strategic initiative and connecting the regional food economy. So I'm assisting with the Food System Action Plan update, helping with expanding philanthropy for the foundation.
Christy?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Christy, and I'm with the CalFresh Healthy Living University of California Cooperative Extension Program in Yolo County. And so we provide nutrition education to schools that are 50% or more free and reduced. And so we are on the education side of it, ensuring that children are exposed to novel fruits and vegetables and develop those healthy habits early. And we have programs where they are also learning food preparation skills and those life skills that carry out through adulthood. And so they are able to prepare food at home.
And Rabbi David?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Rabbi Dave with Fresher Sacramento. And we're partnering with the National and California Restaurant Foundations to start Bring Restaurant Ready to Sacramento, and with a special focus on training reentry and justice-involved youth for jobs in restaurants, and also with an eye toward creating neighborhood catering crews that could establish a consistent family meal program in conjunction with food services in the food banks.
Eddie?
Hi, that's Edie. I'm here with Brian Boyce, and we are in the Communicare Garden and Outdoor Classroom. We're working with the health center that we are staff members of to establish food security and nutrition activities that connect patients with health. Hopefully you can see a little bit of our garden in the background there.
Beautiful. Welcome. Emma?
Hi, I'm Emma with Alchemist CDC, and I manage our CalFresh at Farmers Markets programs. So we do food benefit access at the local farmers markets in Sacramento and Yolo counties. And we also partner with our small and local farm stands and farms to help them create their access to their fresh fruits and veggies. And we also do the Market Match program for the region, which brings in a nutrition incentive program to help make our farm fresh foods accessible and affordable.
Great. And Karen?
Hi, I'm Karen. Oops, we got more than one Karen on the line.
Oops, it looks like we do. Karen Strach, why don't you go first, and then we'll have the other Karen.
Hi, I'm Karen Strach. I'm with Sacramento Food Bank and Family Services. I oversee our food distribution programs and nutrition programs.
That's all of our public food distributions, as well as our specialty programs related to partnerships with schools and senior programs.
Sorry about that, Karen.
So I'm Karen Abrego from Senator Pan's office. This senator, in addition to being a senator for Sacramento, Yolo, and Elk Grove areas, is also a pediatrician who understands the impact on food access for healthy children and healthy families. One of his predominant sayings is he's happy to hear that Sacramento is the farm to fork capital, but until we are the farm to every fork, he doesn't think we've completed our task. So I work with him. I've worked with most of you in community endeavors. So I'm here to be a listening ear.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Duran with the Health Education Council. I assist with our food distributions programs, so we provide nutritious meals and produce to families in need.
Thank you. Keaton? Keaton, are you there? All right, we can come back to you. Lori?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lori Summerhausen, and I am the WIC Director, or the Women, Infants, and Children Program Director for Yolo County, where we provide prescribed foods for our pregnant and postpartum women and children up to the age of 5. Right now, in addition to our regular nutrition education and breastfeeding education, we are focused on increasing awareness for our participants of the increased cash value benefit for fruits and vegetables that they have through the end of September. It's $35 a month per participant, which is an incredible increase in the benefits that we've had before. In addition, we're also offering our farmers market nutrition program right now, allowing them another $28 of fruit and vegetable purchasing at farmers markets. So our real focus is on getting that message out and that our clients are purchasing those fruits and vegetables so we can hope to see more of that in the future. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Keaton, were you able to unmute?
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm on the phone and a computer because my computer doesn't have a microphone, so I was double muted. Keaton Riley, I work for Sacramento County Supervisor Patrick Kennedy. He represents a large portion of South Sacramento, and so we kind of touch a little bit of everything, a lot of work on getting folks WIC enrolled and getting fruits and vegetables and healthy foods out there into our underserved communities, and do a lot of work with a lot of the great organizations that are on here. So good to be here.
Great, thank you. Lisa?
Hi, I'm Lisa Butler. I'm the Community Facility Program Director for USDA Rural Development. We provide affordable funding to develop essential communities, facilities in rural areas with populations less than 20,000. And that can include food banks and community gardens, and those would be to nonprofits and public entities.
Thank you. Lucia?
Hi, I'm a retired community nutrition specialist from UC Davis. I worked for many years in food security, and now as a retiree, I'm volunteering with a group of several other people, some of whom are on this call today, to develop a more of a plan within Yolo County for integrating food insecurity activities with climate action and health and a lot of other things. So we have more comprehensive planning within the county of Yolo.
Thank you. Linnea?
Hi, my name is Linnea Ormiston from the Sacramento Area Council of Governments. I work on SACOG's Rural Urban Connection Strategies program, also known as RUCS, and we are currently working with Valley Vision on our Coordinated Rural Opportunities Plan project that will identify planning strategies and strategic investments to support the agricultural industry and rural communities in the greater Sacramento region.
Thank you. Mariella?
Hi, everyone. Mariela Donis. I'm with No Kid Hungry. I oversee the Northern California region for our campaign, and I work closely with districts, with school districts and nonprofits to see how we can support and maximize their federal nutrition programs, but also seeing how we can build bridges between those two entities and try to see how we can maximize and increase food security for kids and their families.
And Matthew?
Hi there. Sorry about the background. I don't mean to make you all jealous. Matthew from Find Out Farms. I'm honored to be on a call with so many well-established and large organizations who are doing great work in this field. Find Out Farms is a scrappy, little, tiny organization that's dedicated to helping the world around us to be a better place through a few initiatives. One of those is a seed sovereignty initiative where we pass out free seeds that are heirlooms for our community to grow food. Another one that's very related to this call is our community fruit program, which is taking on the legacy of urban gleaning in the area, where we harvest thousands of pounds and give it directly back to the community. The little organizations like Wellspring Women's Center or the neighbor program that brings food out into the unhoused encampments. And that's with the help of our fiscal sponsor, Alchemist CDC. So thanks again for letting me be on the call. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Megan?
Hi, I'm Megan Holdaway with Dairy Council of California. We've been working for over 100 years to elevate the health of children and families throughout California. And I've recently been working on the Well-Nourished Brighter Futures initiative, which is bringing together partners both locally and throughout the state to elevate children's health and to find solutions to improving children's health with a special focus on the first 1,000 days of life.
Great. Michael?
Hi there. Good afternoon. Mikel Davila with he, him pronouns with the City of Sacramento's Office of Innovation and Economic Development. Also honored to be here. Thanks for putting this together and have been connected to this work recently through the CARES Act work that the City of Sacramento has done supporting our kind of food access, direct service programs, and intimately involved with the Great Plates program, feeding our most vulnerable seniors during the height of the pandemic. That program's over now, but learned a lot around food access and healthy food access for our vulnerable populations through that. And then just trying to act as a bridge to the General Plan 2040 update, our environmental justice element does have a call out for food access policies as well. So trying to make sure those are linked. Thank you.
Thank you. And the other, Michael Bish.
Good afternoon, Michael Bish, Executive Director of Scrappy Little Yolo Food Bank. We're currently focused on durably reducing food insecurity throughout Yolo County and increasing individual metabolic health. We have a number of exciting initiatives that we're working on. One of them is the Food for Fairness Summit. It's a 3-day summit that we're hosting in October. It's October 19th through the 21st. The presenting organizations are Yolo Food Bank, the UC Davis Artificial Intelligence Institute for Next Generation Food Systems, and the UC Davis Innovation Institute for Food and Health. And some of the questions that we're seeking to answer are, what is an equitable, sustainable local food system? How can it be achieved? Why does global human health, economic and social well-being and advancement depend upon it now more than ever? And I'm happy to post the link in the chat when I get a chance. Thank you.
Thank you. Monica?
Hi, my name is Monica Drasba, and I'm with the CalFresh Healthy Living program in Yolo County with the Cooperative Extension. And I'm a nutrition educator that works in the school age program. And we're also starting policy and systems and environmental work in Esparto. So we, like Christy, deal mostly with education.
Nolan? Nolan Sullivan, are you there? All right, we'll come back to you. Patty?
Hello, everyone. I'm Patty Gerald, currently the acting state director for USDA Rural Development. Although we are an arm or related to USDA, we don't actually handle food products or the SNAP program or anything like that. But we are a lending agency. We focus in rural communities. So Lisa Butler, who is our program director, is on this call. And as she mentioned, we have some programs that may help with food storage, such as food banks, food delivery, that sort of thing. She can provide more information to you on that. But we're on the call to listen and to see where we may fit in to this. But just wanted to let you know that we don't actually handle food or food products. Just to be clear on that. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Nolan, were you able to unmute? All right, we can go on to Fua.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Pua Mua. I'm the manager for community health and outreach with Dignity Health in the greater Sacramento market. And I'm actually just here to listen to see what the landscape looks like with the food security and healthy food access in the area. That's definitely one of our health priorities for Dignity Health. So I'm just really here to listen and see what it all, hearing what everybody has to say.
Sarah?
Sorry about that. Okay. Sarah Bernal here with the Center for Land-Based Learning. I run the West Sacramento Urban Farm Program, which is a business incubator for beginning farmers in the area. We have 5 sites that cover 7 acres, all in production. And this year, I'm also piloting a mobile farmers market that's delivering the produce grown by the West Sac Urban Farm to affordable housing complexes in West Sacramento. So I just got out of my senior affordable housing complex stop this morning, and we're heading to another one this afternoon. And then also doing a 3-year research project that's funded by the USDA's Urban Ag and Innovations and Productions grant to find ways to connect the benefits of urban farms to low-income residents. Thanks.
Thank you. Nina?
Hello?
Who did you say?
Is it Stephen?
I had said Serena, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, it's Serena Fuller. I'm a faculty at Cosumnes River College, which is a community college based in Elk Grove. And I come with a background from a food bank in Santa Barbara County, and then I ran the expanded food nutrition education program in Arkansas for the cooperative extensions there. And my activity is just really to listen, to bring, I teach nutrition, obviously at CRC, to bring what's going on in the community and not be so siloed in the classroom into my classroom, and then hopefully make connections with the students with all the great things that are going on in the county, because we do have really high rates of food insecurity at CRC. Thank you.
Thank you. And Stephen, did you want to go ahead?
Yes, I'm Stephen DeBry, and I'm a fund holder with the Sacramento Region Community Foundation, and I'm interested in the topic of food security.
Thank you. Shannon?
Hello, I'm with the California Rangeland Trust. We did try to get involved in some food access opportunities last year, but with all the processing issues with meat, that was a struggle for us. So that's kind of an angle we have on that professionally. And then just personally, I've been getting more involved in some food access issues here in Sacramento. So I'm interested in learning more and getting more involved with that. So thank you.
Thank you. Tim Hall?
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm
I'm Tim Hall with Cal Recycle, and I supervise the group that wrote the regulations for food recovery for SB 1383. And we're excited about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
Sorry, I'm Tom Bennett. I'm Senior Vice President of Community Impact at United Way. Most recently, United Way provided after-school meals to programs, but due to COVID, it didn't work out for what we were doing. So I'm more just on here just as a listening to what new opportunities we might be able to engage in.
Great. And I'm sorry if I pronounced this incorrectly. Basile?
Yes, hi. That's actually Liz Vasile. My first name and last name were reversed. I apologize. Yeah, I'm Liz Vasile with UC Davis Health. I manage a program at the Clinical and Translational Science Center called Health Equity Resources and Outreach. It's a new program. Also work in close collaboration with the Anchor Institution mission at UC Davis Health. And we are essentially looking at ways to build more local providers into the supply chain for food for UC Davis Health. And on the health equity resources side, building an awareness of food insecurity and food access as part of the social determinants of health into our clinical and research teams. So I'm here mainly to listen, to learn, and to see who we might partner with in future as we go forward. We have sponsored a couple of projects related to food distributions in South Sacramento and food preparation training at the Continuation High School in Oak Park, and we're interested in doing more projects of that sort. Thank you.
Thank you. Now going back to the top of the list, we do have a 916 number that's here. Are you able to unmute? All right, we can go back to that again too. Nolan, are you able to unmute?
I'm here. Sorry about that. I had to step away for a minute. My name is Nolan Sullivan. I work with Yolo County Health and Human Services. I oversee our CalFresh program. I also sit on the board of the local food bank. And I am here just to discover new ideas, new programs, new goals. We have been recipients of past FENI grants where we do a double up for fruits and veggie purchases for CalFresh recipients. And we are actually in the running for $1 million grant now for Yolo County. We've been very active in the food space over COVID, partnering with restaurants and commercial kitchens and things to help feed local seniors. And I am very happy to be here, and I'm very happy to meet all of you. And I apologize for missing the last round of intro.
You're good. Thank you. Patrick, I believe you came in when we were doing intros. Are you able to?
Yep, there you go. Hi, I'm Patrick Mulvaney, big fan of Mikel Davila and many of the other people on this phone call who've done such a great job during the pandemic.
Patrick, were you able to give your organization and what you're working on right now?
Yeah, I'm working right now on trying to figure out technology, how to unmute. We're working with Family Meals Sacramento to do a couple of things. One is helping to feed school kids in, I believe, 6 districts around Sacramento right now, and also Great Plates delivered, which we're just finishing and figuring out what the future of that looks like with the great Mikel Davila, who's also on the phone.
Great. And Trish Kelly.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Trish Kelly, Managing Director, Valley Vision, and I'll be talking to you all soon.
All right.
Thanks for joining us.
Last but not least, Sean.
Good afternoon, Sean Harrison, founder, co-director of Soilborne Farms and longtime Valley Vision board member. And I'll be providing a little overview of the process today, but our organization is a 21-year-old urban farm here in Sacramento. So we are doing urban farming education, getting people to grow food in the urban environment, education programs, and we're getting ready to launch a Healthy Families program that is a wraparound services program in partnership with a few other agencies.
All right, and one last check. Did I miss anyone on the intros?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm a late join. My name is Kimberly Albari. I'm a registered dietitian at Washington Hospital in Fremont, California, District Hospital in the East Bay. I'm new to the group, and so I'm really here to do a lot of learning. I actually have new to sitting on a food pantry here in the local community, their board, and we're exploring all kinds of options around food insecurity and creating systems for the highest use and purpose of the food that's equitable in the community. So I'm hoping to learn a lot here with you all. I've already heard lots of things, so thank you for having me.
Well, thank you all. I think we can now move on to our presentation, and thank you again all for your introductions. And Sean, I'll pass it on over to you.
Well, I want to echo Patrick's comment. We're here to talk about food access and healthy food, but all of you on this call and many others are really doing really a Herculean effort, particularly this past year and a half associated with COVID. So I really appreciate all of you, and really lifting up this particular conversation is essential to a health promoting food system. So thank you all for being on the call. And I would share that, you know, opportunities and best practices, big and small, that's what we're talking about today. If we can move forward sort of in a collaborative way, we're gonna really make progress in this area. A little bit of background. So in 2015, Valley Vision led an effort called the Food Systems Action Plan. It was funded through the Sacramento Region Community Foundation. And what this process represents is an update of that plan. It's meant to be a quick update, but really the bigger goal is really to look at, you know, what are the components of a health promoting food system that's equitable, you know, environmentally sustainable, financially viable, et cetera. And so the components of it definitely go beyond emergency food and food access. We're looking at issues of production and distribution, policy, et cetera. But as we well know, emergency food and food access is a central issue in our community right now, as is the case around the country. So we definitely need to crack into this one, see what's working well, see what we need to improve upon. This is a particular important point to make, is that this plan is not defined by geography. It's defined by what we might consider the vital elements of a health promoting food system. So when you think about production and distribution and all of the above, we are definitely crossing county lines. Right now it's within 4 counties. And that's particularly because it's the area defined by the service area of Sacramento Region Community Foundation, which again, I don't know, Linda can add to this, but really thankful for them to fund this effort. And in particular, out of the last 2015 update, they made some investments in this space in particular related to emergency food, which we're very appreciative of. The last thing that I want to say before we kind of get into some of the conversation is that this effort is part of multiple efforts. In fact, could you skip to the next slide, Grace? And it's a really important point to make. There's a lot of great planning efforts that are actually underway right now, with the idea that, you know, when we're trying to envision what a health promoting food system looks like and how it functions, we definitely need to look at it in sort of a multidisciplinary way. We need to be planning together. We need to think about what governance looks like for decision making, and we need to look at funding. So this conversation today will kind of cross through those territories, but the other efforts that and there are others that are not represented on this page that I wanted to call attention to is that this effort will be working with, there's a current effort at the county level, facilitated through the Sacramento Food Policy Council effort and Green Tech. I'm really looking at food assessment and environmental justice element at Sac County level. My organization and about 60 other partners are working on some research related to some food access work that we did in South Sacramento over the last 10 years, and really trying to lay a groundwork for what comes next. SACOG's doing, and as well as Yolo County are doing some work really looking at viability of agriculture and that industry as a whole. How do we keep that, how do we invest in production agriculture? And I think Trish Kelly might add to that. And then there's some other efforts, prosperity strategies, Delta Protection Commission. The point being is that there's a lot of research and planning that's happening right now related to the food system, because it's one of the most important sectors, and it represents something that we all need on a daily basis, and that is food, and healthy food in particular. So I'm excited to see that there is energy going into this space, because I'm sure as Blake or some of the other folks that are in emergency food, we have had this longstanding issue of food access, but it was definitely accentuated over this last year in terms of what really is going on in our community and how much need there is. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Grace, and Trish.
Thank you very much, Sean. And thank you for your support and leadership and your vision over all these years. We got started with this planning years ago because Sean had a vision, and we need a roadmap for where we're going and a way to pull us all together to meet our common community goals. So it's really been incredible working with you, Sean, and I thank you for that. Just give you a quick update on the timeline. As Grace mentioned, this is the 4 of 6 meetings. We have 2 more this week. We'll be talking about healthy food education and nutrition, and also the food economy, which is the pieces of the food system we need to support the infrastructure such as food hubs, central kitchens, food incubators, and all the other ways that we can aggregate and get healthy food to our communities. And that includes institutional procurement with our schools and hospitals. So as Sean mentioned, this is all intersected. So with that, I'd just like to quickly give a little bit of shared background about the information that we're gathering. And we're, in addition to these 6 input sessions, we're doing outreach with stakeholder organizations, and we are doing a healthy food poll that is out in the field right now, and that will be available in the fall along with the report. So this is the first time Valley Vision has done a paired poll to an actual strategy process itself. So it's going to give us a lot of great information, qualitative and quantitative, and that's in partnership with Sac State. So as everybody's mentioned today, this session today is going to talk about food nutrition and nutrition security. So you might have food, it might not be that nutritious. So how do we address that issue of the health promoting food system? As Sean mentioned, really critical underpinning of all of this is the emergency food system infrastructure and the hundreds of thousands of people that they serve. And also our networks and the capacity in that been very impacted by the pandemic, with having to shift to distribution points, supply chains, staffing, volunteerism, all these issues, and just huge numbers, increases in the numbers of people served and food handled. And then how do we deal with food deserts and healthy food access and affordability, but also even if you live near grocery stores, you might not be able to afford it. So how do we ensure this access to affordable, healthy food? And then, as you've heard, we're going to be talking somewhat about the food recovery systems and some new mandates and initiatives to help us recover food, but what's the system and the process to get food to people and the food banks that are dealing with a lot of that. So with that, next slide, please, Grace. We're going to do, well, I don't think we need to do this slide. We're going to see what sector you represent, but we kind of know from the list. So it's a pretty broad cross-section of people. So just some overview of our today's food system. So we're looking at our food and ag cluster, which is part of our regional prosperity strategies. target sectors. It's a strong economic sector for us, and it brings economic opportunity for us to grow jobs and income mobility for workers, and to create more opportunities to keep food value in our region by sourcing more locally and producing more locally. So it covers all aspects of growing, producing, packaging, distribution, and support services. It's based on the fact that we have one of only 5 Mediterranean climates in the world, so it gives us very high quality soil and crops and other assets. We have a huge amount of our land is in working landscapes. We're doing pretty well on farms. We haven't lost too many according to the Census of Ag, unlike some other regions, but we do still have pressure to convert farmlands to urban uses. So that's an issue for the region to consider. The farm gate value coming off the ranches is $2 billion, and that undergirds a regional economy that's worth more than $12 billion in overall economic impact, generating more than 55,000 jobs. And this does not include many of our sectors, including things like nutrition services, the education sector, and retail, hospitality, and tourism, which is very connected to us being the capital and the farm to fork moniker that is important for us. So next slide, please, Grace. So our food system has a lot of challenges, which we've heard already, but just to give you some other information, the average age of a farmer is over 57 years old. 32% of producers in our region are new or beginning farmers, but that average age is 46 years old, and the average age of a highly skilled manufacturing food processing worker is 56 years. So we do have a huge workforce issue. If we're going to keep farming and producing food and creating value, we need a skilled pipeline of workers now and into the future. So a lot of our partners have been working on programs like that, including our community colleges and our nonprofits, but it's a big issue for us. Agriculture is quite different across our various counties. For instance, in El Dorado and Placer counties, a lot of the farms are smaller compared to Yolo County and some of our other larger operational farms. 83% of the farms in Sacramento County lack internet access. As an example of a gap in critical infrastructure, it's not only important for farming operations and access to market, but farms can't deploy critical technology innovations that allow them to use resources more efficiently, water, energy, and cut back on chemical inputs, and also reduce the impact of labor shortage and reducing stressors for farm workers by upskilling them through other means. And also it affects rural economic vitality and access to other services that we all have with our rural areas not being connected. So next slide, please. So our big conundrum in the region is that we have a lot of great food abundance and wealth, and we have terrible persistent conditions of food gaps and hunger. And that is something that we really are trying to address through this strategy, and so many of you are all working on. But even pre-COVID, 1 in 6 children was food insecure. In Sacramento County, that number is estimated now by the food bank to be 1 in 5. If children are hungry, parents are hungry. And our food insecurity numbers are higher than state and national averages. So it's again the shift to the emphasis also on nutrition security. And just a couple of other facts, huge numbers. If we have a huge increase in the amount of food distributed, meals, and people served by the emergency food system. And as Sean mentioned, a huge pivot, and just so much gratitude to our emergency food system partners and all the other people that stepped up, like the restaurants and the farmers and paratransit and so many others, to get food to people in need over this past year. One of our challenges is that we are not getting all of the resources that we could from CalFresh enrollment. We have varying rates of enrollment of eligible participants across the region, and it's estimated that we could generate more than $150 million in revenue to farmers and food distributors if we were able to close that gap. So some of you are working in that realm, and that's something we can talk about today. Another aspect we'll be addressing is the phenomenal food waste in the food chain, not just here, but everywhere. But food recovery is increasing. Our institutional procurement impact shows that when we buy locally, it really has a great effect on the local economy. So that's another thing we want to build on, is some of the great programs we have, and happy to have the state partners here with our farm to school programs. But again, undergirding all of this is the huge environmental challenges we face, which we're all seeing around us: droughts, floods, fires, air quality risk. You know, it's just a human health and a health to the resiliency of our food system. So last week we had a lot of talk about climate resilient food and agriculture systems and the health of our communities and our workers and people. Next slide, please, Grace. So just to send us into our discussion and input from people, there's been a lot of discussion this past week in the Sacramento Bee, really highlighting the conditions of food insecurity and disparities in our community. And the foundational issue is one of high levels of poverty. A recent report by the United Way just came out, found that 26% of our households are at risk of not being able to meet basic needs. That's over 200,000 households in our community. And a lot of this is in neighborhoods that are historically under-resourced, and they're with people of color, race, ethnicity gaps. So it's really a persistent challenge that we need to address. And then, you know, the other thing that has surfaced repeatedly is that even though we have a lot of attention to food and ag in our systems, there isn't a lot of government investment, local, state, whatever. I mean, people, nonprofits have to spend a lot of time and effort to try to generate resources to address some of our structural issues. So philanthropy is a part of the solution as well. We're underinvested in compared to other regions. So again, that's why this strategy is really important. One thing in terms of our opportunities that our pandemic response has showed us is that we have rich partnerships. We have people who care about each other and nonprofits that support one another in our community. And we are trying to position ourselves so that we can really begin to better take advantage of the federal and state funding that's coming into the region. There's some major new initiatives that can change the landscape for us. And so we feel like we're really well positioned with a lot of new models for creative solutions. And so we really want to use the strategy here to elevate those and hear from you today on those. And then again, the food waste prevention and recovery is an opportunity for us. We have to deal with the cost of that and the infrastructure issues, but it is an opportunity to reduce food waste and get more food to people in need. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Grace. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Trish. We are going on to the Mentimeter exercise. So if you are able to use your computer, you can go to the link that I put in the chat. If you'd like to use your phone or tablet, you can go to menti.com, and the code is 68068226. Again, that's 68068226. And the first question that we have here, I do want to know all of these answers. You can submit multiple entries, so don't feel like you need to put everything into one box, and all of the answers will be anonymous, so they won't be tied to your name. So please be honest with your feedback. The first question we have here is, what are the biggest challenges in ensuring people have access to healthy and affordable food in our region? And as you enter them, they'll pop up in there. You'll see cost of living, cost of housing, lack of living wage, poverty, again, adequate jobs that pay a living wage, money, time, local investment aimed at funding food access work year after year, systemic issues of inequity, stigma, This is also an opportunity for folks to unmute yourself, to maybe describe a little bit more about what you put in there or comment about some of the answers that you're seeing here. Anyone want to share any challenges that this region's facing?
This might be stealing Emma's thunder a little bit, but CalFresh utilization at farmers markets, I know is something that Alchemist and others in the Sacramento Policy Council have been working on for a long time. A lot of folks simply, don't know that they can use their CalFresh and their EBT benefits at many farmers markets across the region. And so they're really, those sorts of marketing efforts and communications efforts kind of, in the right languages, centered on the right people is I think a big area of opportunity. I don't know if Emma wants to add to that. She's the real superstar on that.
Yeah, thank you, Adrian. I was furiously chatting and typing in, and thank you for giving me a space. Yeah, I think there's a lot of groups who do similar work to what we do that, create really great kind of patchwork solutions that create really solid pipelines for people who have benefits and ways to use them locally that also benefit our local food and, farming folks. But we don't have stable funding. So we are often spending so much of our time patching together funding that works from local and city grants and from, our random funders. But I think really being able to stabilize this work and expand it really would make such a huge impact in our community and help keep a lot of these dollars local. And I think, yeah, creating some more education and marketing behind our work is truly essential.
There's appear to be some, structural issues in this too, like seeing lack of coordination across agencies, and maybe is it hard to sign up for CalFresh or getting information to people? The sign up is really variable across the counties. I'm not really sure why Yolo County has such a low rate of sign up for CalFresh compared to some of the other counties. But how do we be more strategic about helping people get the benefits that they are entitled to?
I can speak to that really quick. So Nolan Sullivan over Yolo County CalFresh programs. So one of the issues in Yolo County specifically is the college students. So Yolo County actually has the largest college student ratio to overall population ratio in the state of California out of all 58 counties. Because of federal guidelines, college students are categorically ineligible to CalFresh unless they meet a variety of really ridiculous exemptions. So the rough part is the way they calculate CalFresh usage is they take really rough poverty numbers from the census, and then they basically divide that by your CalFresh numbers. But when you have a county like Yolo with such a large group of students that are basically ineligible to the program without meeting exemptions, it sort of anchors us down. So the sad part is Yolo will probably always be in the bottom 5 or 6 counties in California because the federal regulations are absolutely ridiculous for college students. So it does look bad, but we have pretty much saturated all of the non-student populations. The problem for us, honestly, is college students.
So glad to learn that. I probably should have known that before. And it was a disconnect because you all are so proactive in the county. So that's a really understandable issue. And I do know that there is hunger among the students too. Are there ways that we can be advocating for changes in that policy?
I think that the most effective things we've seen recently are really effective private partners that are sort of cutting edge and technology savvy. So Code for America is probably one of my favorite nonprofits in the US, and they have a really amazing product called Get CalFresh. It's sort of young and hip and chic. It works great on an iPhone, and it sort of streamlines the process down to about 5 minutes. It's a lot more work on the back end for my staff, but I think meeting students where they're at, and honestly, the struggle with college students is identifying those exemptions. So best practices or lessons learned from Yolo County is anywhere you can have a college campus collaborate with your local county and other nonprofits, great things happen. We have the only CalFresh worker on a UC campus in Davis currently, and that's really effective. So I think especially across the region, encouraging Sac State or other colleges to really work with the county and come up with unique partnerships to target students is probably the best case scenario. And then outside of that, we really need to have the regs change at the federal level. And then outside of that, providing all the different supports, whether that's food pantries or other food supports to college students, because hunger on campuses is a real thing. So it's kind of bolstering that policy hole. So those would be my probably big 3 recommendations.
Great, thank you so much, Nolan.
No, this is Linda Cutler. The federal policy issue that you just raised, are you at all involved with the Metro Chamber Food and Ag Committee and what they are trying to do on the federal level?
Not really, and that's part of the other issues. There's a huge disconnect sometimes between advocacy groups, counties, and people like myself working on the issue. I would love to be connected. There is a pretty big growing movement in the state of California to focus on college hunger, but it's mostly through poverty advocates, different counties, the state. So I will put my email in the chat. If anyone's on there from that group, I would love to talk. We're pretty well versed on the college issue, and I will talk to anyone that will listen to me about this challenge. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that connection, Linda. Nolan, I'll follow up with you. I'm working on that. So that's great. Thank you. Grace, you want to go on to the next question?
Yep, going on to the next question. All right, so this one is a scale. So these are statements. So on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being strongly disagree and 1 being strongly agree, how much do you, where do you rank these statements? So the first one is the region effectively supports the policies, programs, and resources to promote a healthy and accessible food system. And the second one is the region is effectively planning for a healthy and accessible food system.
Get to that. Okay, I can't.
All right, so it's looks like we're pretty low so far. And so for the second question is really just, how are we, are we ready for the future too? It's like both are hanging around the 2s. What's interesting is in the previous listening sessions, it has been the opposite for these questions, where the front question asking if our region's effectively supporting this is a little higher than whether our region is planning. So it's interesting to see a little bit of an opposite trend here.
I feel like we have all the plans. We know what to do. It's the funding and the policies that need to catch up. This is Amber, by the way.
Yeah, that's a good point, Amber. So
I think it might depend on where you're from. I'm not sure I would say the same in Yolo, really, about, it seems like we've had to do a lot of education with our county board of supervisors on even including food security in a sustainability plan.
Well, and I think speaking from experience in Yolo County as well, I actually live in another neighboring county and I serve as a city councilman for a neighboring city. Yolo, in my opinion, is leaps above a lot of other counties. So Sacramento and Yolo, to some extent, I think are doing more than many others. So the sad truth is that I think we're sort of ahead of the curve, which is sort of scary because we have a lot of work to do. And I think this is an issue in a country with as much wealth as we have, or a state with as much wealth as we have. The amount of hunger we have is absolutely unacceptable. And it is kind of shocking.
Okay, I think we can move on to the next question. This is another open-ended question. What are the region's strengths and assets? So this could be programs, best practices. We heard earlier about the Center for Land-Based Learning's mobile food truck that goes around to affordable housing and senior housing units in West Sacramento. What are some other strengths and assets that our region has to help support healthy and accessible food? All right, strong relationships and collaboration, good programs at the nonprofit level, that grassroots desire. Does anyone want to unmute and share anything in particular? This is when I usually like to say it's bragging time.
This is Amber again. I just want to say that coming out of the last recession, I think is when a lot of these efforts really started to take stronger shape. There were organizations like Alchemist and Food Literacy Center that either started or were very tiny and became more substantial. And I think we hadn't quite gotten to the point where we hadn't quite gotten to the policy place yet as a collective movement. And then this pandemic came, and I do feel that, like Trish keeps saying, these organizations were working on really smart upstream solutions, but underfunded, and this pandemic really set efforts back because of, just that lack of resources and that need to shift to emergency service. And so I really think we have all the strengths and assets. They just need to be better funded and organized.
Thank you for that, Amber.
As we get further into the discussion too, that's one thing we really want to have you help us identify is what your priorities are for these investments. This plan is an investment strategy, and we really want to bring it up to scale and be really proactive and tell our story. And Nolan, like you're saying, the hunger is not acceptable, and what are we going to do about it? And support all the great people that are working to change that outcome.
Okay, I'll move on to the next question. Okay, so this is please share any success stories, including resources, initiatives, and programs that relate to access to healthy and affordable food. And Tim, if you're still on the call from Cal Recycle, if you could share some of the resources that are available at the state.
Sure. You want me to share it verbally, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, I'd like to talk about the edible food recovery requirements under SB 1383 and what Cal Recycle has done to make information accessible to you all. So we've got a really good web page with lots of resources. We've got a whole page dedicated to the food recovery requirements under SB 1383 for jurisdictions, as well as edible food generators and recovery organizations. For example, we've got guidance for identifying commercial commercial edible food generators. We've got a capacity planning calculator for edible food. We also have some guidance on estimating how much edible food is disposed by commercial edible food generators. We've got a food recovery capacity survey that is kind of a model that can be customized by jurisdictions. We also have model franchise agreements that include edible food recovery language, model edible food recovery agreements. Most of you probably know we've done quite a few webinars in recent months, and all of those are being prepared to be posted on the website. We recorded those, so you'll be able to watch those webinars. I also would like to talk about the greenhouse gas reduction grant programs. These are funded by Cap and Trade, and we get funding when the legislature gives us funding from that. We've got 4 cycles for the edible food, the food waste prevention and rescue grant program. We just awarded cycle 4 a few months ago. It was almost $4 million to 11 projects statewide. And so far with that one, we've funded $24 million over 4 cycles. The first 3 cycles funded 64 projects, which have recovered the equivalent of about 115 million meals. We also have the organics infrastructure grant program, which is awarded $72.5 million. And the one that I really am excited about is a recent one, which is the Community Composting for Green Spaces grant. This was awarded to People, Food, and Land Foundation, and we gave them $1.35 million, and they have identified over 100 sites. I think the number is 115 sites around the state where they're getting community composting projects up and running. Be a really, really neat program. And then finally, I just wanted to highlight one of the grants that we awarded in cycle 4 was to the Pacific Coast Collaborative. It's a food waste prevention project. And you know, I don't know if you all are familiar with PCC, but it's a regional West Coast public-private partnership with the goal to reduce food waste by 50% by 2030. And we've got signatories such as Albertsons, Kroger, and then locally we've got Raley's and Sprouts, and other markets are signing on. So we're really happy about that. And we participate in their roundtable discussions. One of my staff, Alex Rosado, participates in those. So I'm happy to answer any questions about any of those.
Thank you so much for that overview, Tim. And just so folks know, those resources will be included in the follow-up email and then also included in the Food System Action Plan report. Sarah, you have your hand up.
Oh yeah, thanks. I just wanted to share a little bit about, there was mention of the mobile market project. So I launched that we're in our 3rd week now. And it's been really eye-opening to see how well received it's been by particularly the senior housing complex, but all the housing complexes that we're going to now. And Emma over at Alchemist CDC mentioned, yeah, we are one of the market match recipients, and I can't stress how amazing that's been in terms of increasing the buying power of a lot of the residents that we're serving. Every week we're seeing about a 40% increase in individual purchases. So people probably go in feeling a little trepidatious about how much they can afford. And then when they realize that, you know, Market Match is making it really affordable, every week they are increasing their individual purchases by about 40%. And then having the shelf stable pantry items, we provide about 20% of our inventory space is providing shelf stable items, including rice, beans, canned corn, a couple of sauces and pasta that we get in partnership with Yolo Food Bank, which has been amazing. And then we have recipe cards and all these other nutritional informational materials that we got from Health and Human Services Agency from Rebecca Tryon a few months ago have been amazing. So just the collaboration between the affordable housing complexes, Alchemist CDC, Yolo Food Bank, Health Education Council, which is doing a bunch of resident engagement work with us, has been really amazing. And we're really hoping that there could be some sort of sustainable funding source to expand the mobile market beyond just the reach of the broader Bright neighborhood. But yeah, just really great 3 weeks into our 17-week pilot. Just wanted to give a little update about that.
Thank you for that, Sarah. Does anyone else have any success stories that they want to share before we move into the next question?
Yeah, can I just add on to this? I think getting the food closer, the point of choice closer to the people is really important, and ensuring that choice, similar to what Sarah just shared, is really critical. I mean, in Yolo County, I've seen a lot of smaller towns with stores, but very limited choices that are there. But there's limited demand because people can't necessarily buy those. And then the store itself has problems with turnover and ensuring a fresh quality. There's whether they have space, whether they have refrigeration. So there's a lot of other things that have to help at the infrastructure at the store level. But giving people the option through vouchers or incentives to go in and buy things at their local stores can make a difference. And we saw that in a research project that was done down in Firebaugh in Fresno County, where UC Davis had some money, research funds, and gave families $25 a month for 5 years to be able to go to their local store and purchase fresh fruits and vegetables, similar to what the WIC food package allows. And over the time, we saw that the quality of foods within those stores, that store improved because the demand and the turnover was faster. People chose a variety of fruits and vegetables with their vouchers. We didn't stipulate what they could buy, but we also saw a slowing down in excessive weight gains in the population, because the children in the study, most of whom, maybe 90% of them were of Mexican origin families, were at very high risk for childhood obesity. So not only did we increase the variety of foods that people were eating, and the children were eating those foods by the measurements we had, but we also saw a slowing down of obesity rates in the children. So there are multiple benefits of getting the choices closer to the people at their point of purchase.
Thank you, Lucia. And I just want to acknowledge all of the great work that the food banks and the community partners and the chefs have done in the last year. And Blake, if you're still on, if you wouldn't mind just quickly, recapping where you are right now. You mentioned on the food assessment piece, how you're bridging to get ready for the next phase.
Yeah, Trish, I'm still on. I'd be remiss if I didn't name a few people that have been instrumental. The school districts, paratransit, Pat Mulvaney, Michael Bish's tireless work on SB 1383. I'm just really honored to be here with all of you. There's just such a huge amount of work that we have to do. Honestly, we are really focused right now on really where do we go from here. We know that the demand for food resources has exploded and is going to be high for a long time. That's going to take an enormous investment. And it's going to take all of us working together. An example, we really didn't work a lot with the school districts, and the pandemic led us to a partnership, and it's just been absolutely wonderful. Talking about Yolo Food Bank for a minute, our county and us were really behind in working on SB 1383, and because of Michael's efforts, we were able to be educated quickly, and hopefully Sacramento County comes up to speed with some of that edible food recovery. But we're really just focused on what does our emergency food system look like, exploring new partnerships. I mentioned on the mayor's call that we're open for business. We are really, the door's wide open to really rethinking partnerships. Trish, you and I talked about, the emergency food system in terms of partner agencies. We have lost a lot of them. We know that a lot of the partner agency network is filled with senior volunteers, God bless them, but a lot of them decided to retire, or a lot of them are just plain getting older and having a difficult time. And the infrastructure is very antiquated, particularly
now that we've seen almost a doubling. I mean, we keep talking about 200,000 people that are food insecure. Trust me, it's much higher. Look at the number of people that qualify for CalFresh. And then multiply it times 2. This is itself as a pandemic, and so we're just doing our best to really assess the system that we're in and really invite what I would consider non-traditional partners, institutions, other folks to just work with us. It's not necessarily getting the food; it's really the distribution end.
Thank you, Blake. And I think, of course, we've talked as we want to make sure that we are elevating the emergency food system, because that's the front line, and you're handling huge amounts of food and needs to reach a huge number of people. So how can we support that through the infrastructure, the partnership, development, all those things, and support the incredible work that you're all doing? So, and there's a lot of strategies at different levels of scale, but the emergency food system is such a critical component of how we are going to try to address this challenge. So we want to make sure that we're elevating in the strategy all the support that you need, as well as the other partners.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody necessarily comes to the top of the list. I did also want to thank Sean Harrison for his, obviously he's put in a lot of work with you, Trish, and the foundation, and so taking a lead, Sean, and working with these folks. I know you have enough to do, so appreciate that.
Well, like you said, we all are in it together. So thank you for everything that you and Michael and the other food banks have done. And so we'll go on to the next question now. Thank you, Blake, again.
I did want to give Sean, as we move on to the next question, I saw that you have your hand raised.
Oh, sorry.
If you wanted
to lift up one point, and it kind of, I think it reinforces a lot of the points that are being made. The most recent example of probably the longest funding initiative that I've been part of was through the California Endowment's effort in South Sacramento. And granted, we can point fingers of what worked and what didn't, but the point is that 10 years of funding, that sort of consistency of funding is what a lot of these efforts need. We need funding year after year. And in this case, funding came from the California Endowment, which helped a lot of organizations thrive and do good work in South Sacramento. But we need that type of consistent funding across the board for this space in particular. Not to mention education. These are all, activities that require subsidization and funding year over year. So I know Blake and I've had many conversations about that. And I would just lift up that, when funding is consistent and you don't have to scrap and scrape every year for some basic programs, work gets done. Innovation happens. And I think we really need to take a look. I mean, I don't think we need to. We need to take a look at this issue of consistent funding from local sources and not rely on, outside sources to do this work.
Thank you, Sean. And to mention that one of the pieces I know that you're looking at, and the Food Policy Council, and we will be working on with the foundation, is the a sustainable financing mechanism through a healthy food financing fund. It's been a long identified priority, and now's the time to to make this piece happen. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just read out the question just so folks can hear it, and then we'll go to you, Rabbi Dave. What are the main priorities for funding and capacity needs to ensure people have access to healthy and affordable food? So it's kind of just listed again, that consistent funding stream. And what are some other main priorities that could help, build the region's food system capacity? And Rabbi Dave, I'll go to you.
Hi, everyone, again. I hope you can hear me. I'm in the kitchen, so there's a lot of background noise. But when a lot of you think about the things that I've done, you probably think about different programs. But all of that is to buy time to get to this moment where I've really been thinking about the structure for funding a lot. And there's some interest in the social venture capital community from the idea of a food credit fund. So I want you to, us all to passionately consider combining donations and spending together through community buying groups. And if there's a structure for planning, producing, procuring, and producing together, we're going to create efficiencies that can be returned into the community as food credits that PTAs, pastors, and nonprofits can have at their disposal for folks who are in need. And through this completely voluntary, non-government, we could use opportunity zone investments to get the 10-year that the endowment gave, but I would say even at a much higher level. So every 100 people who would be getting $20 worth of value in one way or another could actually support their own chef who's curating a meal plan for them, as it were. And there'd be 2 apprentices for them. I would say every 1,000 is $1 million buying group that then can coordinate with the other buying groups around procurement, around investments in production and all of that. Countywide, $100 startup 1 month for somebody to try out this concept for everybody in the county would be $150 million. Combination of different funding sources. Rich Callahan once taught me, around the USC School for Business here. He said, if you want to get something done, you have to know what your measurable objectives are. We all know those. The second thing he said is the one that stuck with me, and I think we're at the point where we can actually do this together, is to amass enough assets to overwhelm our outcomes. To amass enough assets to overwhelm our outcomes. I think we're at that tipping point, and then we just have to be willing to be completely accountable. And that's where I'm coming from these days. Thank you.
And I want to encourage everybody to be as specific as possible, because we want to position the strategy for matching to resources that are coming, and, you know, elevate a clear framework and listing of how the priorities then translate to some projects, as well as the overall need for the big message of consistent, sustainable investment in the food system. To Sean's point, if you're always scrapping and scraping trying to raise money, you can't do the work. And so, or it's really hard to do the work. And this is a huge need, and it rests on lots of organizations to help close the gap and position people to be healthier and not go to bed hungry. So the other thing is, I know that we just want you to know, in the outreach that we're doing with partners, we're getting some very good specific ideas about what it needs to make some of these programs sustainable. So all your help is really valuable, your input. I think we've got a few more hands, Grace. I can't see them.
Edie?
I may lose you because I'm driving. The unsustainable funding source that is in the works right now is through, and this is only available to a small subset of folks, but just something to keep in mind that Medi-Cal is under a big reform right now. And there's an option called in lieu of services that will include food, medically tailored food and nutrition support is the terminology they're using. So that's one way that we can try to, especially us working in healthcare, connect food with people who are food insecure and who have nutrition security challenges.
Thanks, Edie.
Any other comments from folks?
If you don't mind, really quick, this is Blake. I just wanted to mention, most of you know Farmer Dave has retired and is finished with our community garden here this Friday. So if anybody's interested or knows somebody that might be interested in working with us in the community garden, please share that with folks.
We will, and being across the street from the food bank, we get to look at that beautiful garden. So he's done a fantastic job, so we'll miss him. And to Blake's point, you know, we were listening on a call with the city last week, the food access call. There are a lot of job openings in our food system. So let's get people hired and getting good work in supporting our food system. So we're kind of coming close to our last question. And I did want to note that we'll get all this information out to you. Everything is recorded. We're going to synthesize the key themes that come out of the Mentimeter questions, and then the resources that Cal Recycle and CARB and others are providing we'll get back to you. I'm sure USDA will have some resources, and the Farm to School program. On Thursday, we're going to be having UC Davis Health with us and Sac City Unified. They'll be able to talk about the work that they've been doing for local procurement, and that's some of the partnerships that they've done with Blake and others. So stay tuned for those two if you can. Okay, last question. What are the main priorities for current and future projects? So these are more of the specifics.
And then really, if there's anything else that you want to share with us at this time, this slide will remain up after this session ends. So, 5 minutes later, if you want to go back on your phone or go back to this link and add something, it'll be open for that. And with that, I think we can close out. So I'll reshare the PowerPoint. I think you're on mute, Trish.
Thanks, Grace. Well, we really appreciate everybody's time. I know everybody's really busy, and this is a vital issue, and you've given us a lot of great information and guidance, and we encourage you to keep, sending your ideas with us. We'll get information back out to you. We'll be drafting the report toward the end of August and be submitting it to the foundation in September, and continue to partner with the other efforts that are going on so that we can, help support each other and get to scale and really lift up and elevate some of our critical priorities. So again, I want to thank you, and I want to thank the Community Foundation for all their support. And I think we have awesome people in our food system. So we will look forward to continuing to work with you and hearing from you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Trish and Grace. Thanks for.
Thank you. And thanks, Sean.
Yeah, thank you, Sean.
Take care, everyone. Take care.
Okay, thank you. Bye.